Welcome to the postgraduate teaching open day for the session where we're going to describe the programs in the MSc in Bioinformatics group. My name is Rick Annie and I'm the program director, and you're also going to hear from Dr. Marion Hampshire, who's the deputy program director. We're going to talk about two programs here that overlap in a lot of their content, but they differ at the end. I'm going to talk to you about how they differ. And that's the MSc in Bioinformatics and the MSc in Bioinformatics and Genetic Epidemiology. So for those of you who are new to this subject, I'll explain what bioinformatics is. And this is just a field of study that utilizes computational tools to understand biology. Genetic epidemiology is the approaches that we would use to explore the role of genetic factors in determining health and disease in human populations. So it's how we kind of leverage some of the genetic information we got. And importantly, it's also how those factors interact with the environment. When you come to do bioinformatics, we believe you need three core sets of skills. You need to have your computer science skills, you need to have your statistics, and you need to also have your biology. And what we could do is we could send you off and ask you to go and do 3 undergraduate degrees, one in each of those core elements, and bring yourself together and say, okay, now you can start doing your bioinformatics. But what this program tries to do is to give you those platform skills, those core skills from those 3 disciplines, so that you are able to continue your research in bioinformatics and genetic epi. I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Marion Hampshire now.
So, distinctive features of our programs. So as we've just seen in the previous slide, bioinformatics is a multi or interdisciplinary profession. We don't all start off with knowledge and skills in every area. We learn and we evolve our skills. So we support applicants from life sciences, computing, or maths and stats undergraduate degrees, and those who evidence a genuine interest to learn bioinformatics. We assume basic knowledge at the start and then use the first modules of the program to bring everyone up to the same level for all backgrounds. We put a great emphasis on developing skills and awareness of team science. So we are better bioinformaticians if we really work with the people who collect the data, design the questionnaire, process the materials in the lab, etc. A good quote here is from Belbin and says, "What is needed is not well-balanced individuals, but individuals who balance well with each other." So we are here to help you work in a team as well as individually. We have lab-style meetings embedded in our program with research and clinical academic teams. So you get to experience and be ready to work in this environment when you leave the program. You will develop skills in presenting scientific data and core skills in R, Python, and Bash. There is a strong statistical element to our program to help you develop key skills for the future. The programs are human genetics and genomics focused and run over 1 year full time. Okay.
So for the next couple of slides, I'm going to talk you through the course design so you get a feel of how we've developed this course. To give a bit of background, this course has been running for a number of years, but 2 years ago, we relaunched with a new design, which we felt was more contemporary and suited the needs of our students. So when you come onto the course, you will start off doing 3 modules in parallel, in series, of 20 credits each. And each of these modules runs for 5 weeks, and you have 4 sessions per week. And each of those sessions can last for up to 3 hours. So they're like workshops. At the end of each of these core modules, your assessment will be a piece of coursework, and also another piece of coursework, not likely a report, with a presentation attached to it. So everything that we do is not exam based, it will all be done by coursework. So after the first 3 core modules, and I'll go into a bit more detail in the next slide about what those are, you will do a 20 credit case study. And this is where you'll work with a client with real data, a mini research project to kind of hone your skills and try and apply some of those skills that you've developed in the first 3 modules into a mini report. That will be assessed by a project report, and we finish off with a poster presentation to kind of give you a feel of the experience of conference presentations where you're required to stand up and discuss your work using a poster as a format. After that case study, we'll then split. So this is where the course, so the first 4 elements, so the first 3 core modules in that case study, both bioinformatics and bioinformatics genetic epidemiology will be together. Then we split by specialisation, so this is where your courses differ. And then you have 2 modules, again following a similar pattern to the first core modules of 20 sessions over 5 weeks on a specialist subject. And you'll do 2 of those modules. And then you'll come back together and do your dissertations. And that's a 12-week project over the summer. And our students are currently, this year's cohort, are currently embedded with their research groups doing their dissertations. So the core modules that you'll look at, we mentioned before that you have those computing, stats, and biology. For the first 3 modules, you'll start off coming in and we'll give you, you'll brush up your computing skills. We want you to understand about high performance computing. We want you to become more familiar with coding and using Unix and Bash. We want you to be able to learn a statistical language to help you in the next module. So at this stage, you'll do a bit of Unix, a bit of Bash, and the other half of that module will be focusing on getting yourself familiar with the package R, with the software R. You'll then, after that first computing module, you'll then go into a statistics module. This will be taught using those skills that you picked up in R, and Marion leads that module. So that's bringing up your stats knowledge. The third module is the introduction to bioinformatics, and this is about understanding the biology. So this is really getting people who aren't from a molecular biology background to understand some of the terms, understand the experiments, understand where your data is coming from. You'll design better experiments if you appreciate how your data was generated. And that module will be led by myself. And that runs from early December. Obviously have the break over Christmas, and it runs till the end of January. Those first 3 core modules will give you those platform and those core skills in computing, stats, and biology. What we found this year is you can see the strengths of our students who are coming from a stats background and our students who come from a biology background, where they might actually look at some of those things. Actually, I've got a bit of a base knowledge in this, so they tend to excel a little bit more. But we want to make sure you've all got those key skill sets. But we have some of our students who come from a stats and computing background, and the first time we start talking about proteins, genes, and RNA, they go, I've never heard about this before. So we make sure that those students are up at the level where they can actually make some key decisions about their experimental design. Those first 3 modules, because we're talking about, we are in a time where COVID is impacting how we're teaching, those first 3 modules, based on college guidance at the moment, will be delivered online. Decisions will be made for after those first, during the time. It's always evolving to how we deliver after that. In February through to April, you'll be working on a case study. Now this is self-directed learning, and you'll be learning about, you'll be given that case project to work on. You'll notice at the top of this screen, I've got this giveaway kind of decision point. And this is the point in that module MET 583, where our students, if they choose to do so, can actually choose to go down is the bioinformatics and genetic epidemiology, or flip over to the bioinformatics. So if you come in on one of the programs, you're not necessarily fixed to that program. You can actually jump to another one at that stage, but we need to kind of know around about that time. So what's the difference between the 2 courses? So what would make you change your mind or stick on the track that you have decided to enroll on? For the MSc in Bioinformatics, this finishes with 2 modules that are focused around what we call next generation sequencing data. So the sequencing of genomes and how to analyze that data and interpret that data. And we also have a module on looking at the other omics, so proteomics, metabolomics. And so that's the final module there. You'll also see I put plus Python there. Our students want to learn Python as a scripting language, but earlier on, we're teaching you Unix and we're teaching you R. We thought it would be too much of a challenge to throw 3 languages at you in that first module. So this comes back in the final module, and our students really appreciate having that element of being taught by Python. And both bioinformatics and genetic epidemiology do that Python element. The MSc in Bioinformatics and Genetic Epidemiology, that differs from the bioinformatics because the students go on to focus on some approaches that use genetic epidemiology approaches. So we're talking about things like GWAS, so genome-wide association studies, linkage analysis, and some of the post-GWAS analysis, some of the analysis that take you from having an association to trying to understand the biology, taking you towards the gene. So it's a different stream of modules. So here we have it. We have the MSc Bioinformatics module. You'll do a next generation sequencing module, and you'll do a proteomics, and then you go into your dissertation. For the MSc in Bioinformatics and Genetic Epidemiology, you will do this genetic epidemiology association and linkage, and then you'll go into this post-GWAS genetic epidemiology where you'll learn different packages. So I'm going to hand over to Marion here to go through the typical working week.
So as mentioned earlier, we tend to have 4 3-hour sessions per week on campus, or if online, we use a form of blended learning. So from our online sessions this year, we have learned from our experience and feedback from both our team and our students. So we appreciate it can be more difficult to concentrate online for long periods, and that bonds with your peers can take longer to develop at a distance. So as a programme, we are looking at ways to adapt our sessions and build in more supported opportunities to learn together. As bioinformatics is a multidisciplinary subject, the programme team regularly collaborate for research in a big worldwide collaborative consortia. We meet and discuss ideas and developments online, particularly so in the last 15 years. So some of our team were part of a group of 200 UK scientists who published the first major large-scale genome-wide association study. This was in 2007. So online collaboration is what we do, and we do it well. So our programme team are active in research, and we are delivering high-level science, and you will get that opportunity to work with us and on these data sets. With our teaching qualifications and experience, we are creating a learning experience that will include pre-recorded sessions, face-to-face online sessions, catch-up tutorials, and both individual and group projects, preparing you for your career after our programme. Sessions will be timetabled 10 till 1 on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays, although occasionally we may timetable in a couple of extra sessions on a Wednesday or in the afternoons. Next slide.
So I'm going to talk to you about the teaching approach, because I think it's important. When we were designing the MSc, the one thing that we kind of appreciated, it's very difficult to learn about coding, programming, by sitting in a lecture theatre and just having us, like what we're doing now, literally just dictate to you. We want you to interact. We want you to be able to get your hands dirty with the real data. So the way our teaching sessions work, I would think of them as like 3-hour workshops. And we would tend to, if we're running face-to-face, we'd have you all in small classroom learning. And we'd go through different learning outcomes with breaks in there. We don't go solid for 3 hours. That's not good for us or for you. But what we want to do is want to provide you with a theory, as well as some practical aspects, as our experience of working with the data, some of the gotchas that we've experienced of working with real data. We don't tend to give you dummy data. We'd like to give you real data with real challenges. And all the aspects of our practicals are designed on our learning outcomes. We want you to, as I said, the second point there, we want you to develop intellectual, practical and transferable skills. Now, the software that you're going to use might be upgraded in 2 years' time. You might use a slightly different package. In a couple of years' time, you might use different input data. So we need you to be able to adapt to those different challenges. You might even find that you're taught an element earlier on in the year, and later on in your dissertation, a new bit of software has come out and you want to apply that. And you'll have those skills to be confident to try that. In the jobs you go in, you might be using different software or different kits, but you'll have those transferable skills. And I think that's one of the bits of feedback that we've had from employers, that they like the way that our students come in there, they can adapt to the different challenges of their lab. Some of the modules will include group work, because in your work life you will work in groups. And if you ever look at an academic paper, you'll see that there's more than one author, and you need to find your role in the research and get proper experience in working within those teams. The practical skills that we will help you develop will generally be done by computer demonstration and some of the assignments to follow up. Now, I just need to flag to you here with this point, when it comes to doing the online learning, we would recommend trying to get a second monitor. It really does help. We will do formative assessment to track your understanding of the work that we're doing. We will guide you in those. I tend to think of it as, we use the analogy of bake-off. We'll give you the recipe and we'll tell you what to do with the recipe in the first hand. And then later on, when it comes to doing your assessment, we'll just say, go off and bake a cake. And so you can, we'll guide you through early on, but later on you'll be challenged to try and apply all those skills. We'll give you short questions to test your theory, and we'll extending the sessions with self-directed learning. So that means we're giving you homework to try and extend your knowledge. You'll work with real data, and we say with opportunities to publish. And some of our students, as part of their projects, have been co-authors on research papers. I'll talk about the curriculum design, so I'll hand over to Marion now.
So, as it says on the slide here, our aim is to support and enable you to become independent, active learners and critical thinkers, and to also confidence to undertake and understand novel bioinformatics challenges as and when the contemporary science evolves. So our alumni suggested it would be helpful to have some guidance on preparation they could be getting on with before the programme launches in October. So we listened, and now we send out preparatory material in August to all of our students. So learning topics and revisiting them again is a way to improve and deepen your learning. So you've got an opportunity to start this before October. So the more prepared you are for our workshops, the more you'll be able to learn from them. It will also help you settle in. So we fully appreciate there will be a lot of changes you're adjusting to when starting our programme. And we believe it will be more of a comfort to learn about topics with us that you have some background knowledge in. So familiarity is good here to help you transition into learning with us. Okay. Our programme team, well, we believe it's important that our team reflects the multidisciplinary nature of bioinformatics. So indeed, our module leads come from institutes and other groups within Cardiff University. We have leads from infection and immunity, medical genetics, dementia research, biology, cancer and genetics, and the MRC Centre for Neuropsychiatric Genetics and Genomics. Our workshops are also led by active researchers from across campus and the key sectors in health data science, for example, Wales Gene Park, Advanced Research Computing, Centre for Clinical Trials for Population Medicine. So these people bring with them a wealth of experience and opportunities for you to network. They are good at what they do. And our programs are designed as a whole entity and flow with clear learning outcomes. It's a major feature of our program. As our students, you will be part of a world-leading centre for excellence for psychology, psychiatry and neuroscience. We're ranked second out of 87 in the UK in the latest Research Excellence Framework. 90% of our research has been deemed outstanding for its impact in terms of its reach and significance, and 100% of our research and training environment was rated as conducive to producing research of world-leading quality in terms of its vitality and sustainability. So you can be part of this. Cardiff University has a Teaching Excellence Framework Award of Silver, and we are committed to supporting and developing and promoting equality, diversity and inclusivity in all of our practices and activities. For employability, after a massive overhaul of material and teaching methods, we relaunched our programme in 2018. All students from our first cohort are employed or are studying for a PhD in a related discipline. And of the students that started in 2019, over 60% have solid plans for after the programme, something of which we're very proud. Our programme is meeting the needs of employers and supervisors, and we pride ourselves in our reputation and the quality of our students. The people that have employed our students are returning the next year with posts to advertise, and we are building a reputation of a programme with graduates who have the right skills for the workplace. Okay.
So here we have some feedback from our students over the year. So I'll let Marion start off with the feedback here.
Okay, the MSc has been a fantastic experience. The professionalism, expertise and support of the module coordinators and course leaders has been outstanding. The skills I have learned throughout the year have been invaluable.
The course as a whole was amazing. The support and guidance through the year was fantastic. Positives, support and guidance, essential skills, Unix, R and Python, and the flexibility of the assignment.
Another one said, the leading of the course by Dr. Riccani has been absolutely superb. His organisation, endless support and expertise has been a huge part of a very successful postgraduate year.
And finally, the professionalism, support and communication from Dr. Marion Hampshire has been invaluable throughout the whole year, a very important part of my overall enjoyment of the course. So now's the time for question and answers. At the bottom of your screen, you have a place to add question and answers. There's also a place to go for further inquiries after these sessions, which is the PGT Med Admissions at cardiff.ac.uk email. And you can also follow us on Twitter, where we tend to promote stories from the bioinformatics world, jobs and things around about additional courses and conferences that you might find interesting. So we have the first question here, which is, what is your deadline for applying for the course? So admissions are still open at the moment, and we would normally like to have our numbers fixed by the beginning of September. It all depends usually on, sometimes for our international students, would be required to get accommodation and would also be required to get visas, etc. That's not happening this year. So I'll get back to you on the actual deadline date, but which is not fixed because of the current COVID situation. But we normally like to know our numbers around September, early September.
So Rick, we've got a second question here asking about what the admission process is for the programs. Can you help that?
Okay, yeah. We've got an extra slide here for the admissions. So we have this on the website, but what we're looking for is students who have a 2-1 or equivalent in a related discipline. If you do not have a 2-1, but you have a lower second or a 2-2, but you have relevant work experience, that can be used as compensation. And what we mean by relevant work experience is the candidate must provide evidence that they've held for a minimum period of 2 years a position of responsibility relevant to the program. So we've had students come onto the course who are working in a genome sequencing facility, and they have for a couple of years, and that could be used to help with their application. The English language requirements this year are an IELTS of at least 6.5 in each subsection. We ask people to include a personal statement when you apply for the course. That really helps us evaluate your application. It's quite structured, but these are the things that we're looking for. So we ask you, what motivates you to apply for this course? We want to see that students are wanting to do bioinformatics. It's a tough course. We're not going to deny that. It will challenge you, and so we want to make sure our students really want to do this. The second question are, we want to get an idea of where you stand from your computer literacy, your knowledge of statistics, and your knowledge of molecular biology. So those three core elements. And what we want to see there is evidenced that some of your experience there. Now, you don't have to be coming in saying, well, I know my computing, I know my stats, I know my biology. But say if you come in and say, well, I've tried a bit of R, I've tried a bit of Python, or I've done this stats course before, or I've done an undergrad degree in molecular biology. That helps us decide whether you're right for the course. Now, as I said before, you don't have to be hitting targets in each one of those, but we like to see our students coming in, and at least we know for one or two of the modules, they're going to have that starting baseline. So we've had students coming in this year from a purely mathematical background, and they would have no molecular biology. So when it came to that molecular biology module in Introduction to Bioinformatics, we were able to, they'd been learning that from scratch. But we also knew that on the stats module, they'd fly a little bit easier on that one. So it takes the pressure off the students. So Marion was speaking earlier this morning, that if someone comes in and says, I've got an undergrad degree in French and I have no coding, no stats, no biology, you're going to struggle. But if you come in with a slightly different, an undergrad in, say, human genetics, then we look at and say, oh, actually, they've done a bit of stats here as well. They've got their human genetics. Okay, we can help them on the computing. We like to see that you've at least tried a bit of coding. You understand what command line is. And that's where the prep material becomes important. We have another question asking about the prep material. That prep material is all developed now, and that will be released to our current students, our students from next year in August. So we want that at the end of August. Our students said that time between, really just September, while they're waiting to start their course, they were twiddling their thumbs, and they would have liked to have just got to dive in a little bit. But that's why we've got this prep material. I would just go back to this slide for everybody. Are there any more questions?
Yeah, I think there's one more just come through. It's a question asking, what are you looking for in your students?
So I think the one thing that we want you to enjoy your time while you're on our course. And that first question that I put in the personal statement, which what motivates you to apply for the course? We want students who want to do bioinformatics. I think that's the thing. I don't think it is a subject to jump into and go, I'll give it a go, because it's tough. But the students we've had so far coming in from their applications have been really motivated to do bioinformatics, and that's shown in their grades. So we get our students over the last couple of years have excelled with their grades. So we're really pleased with where they're sitting at the moment. So yeah, the main thing that we're looking for is somebody who's motivated to want to work in this area. And a little bit of computer coding doesn't go far down the list of making us smile when we see the application. But we're just coming to the end of this session now. We're currently 1 minute to go. So I'd like to thank you all for paying attention, and I hope to see some of your applications coming through the admissions processing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us.